back to our third session of the Geometric Trading course Apprentice Level 2. In this session, we're going to learn about quadrilaterals. So what is a quadrilateral? The basic definition is a polygon with four sides, because quad means four, lateral means sides. So the basic definition of a quadrilateral would include trapezoids, parallelograms, a rhombus, a rectangle, a square or tetrad, etc. Anything with four sides. But the quads that we're going to be referring to in technical analysis are often referred to as diamonds, but we're just simply going to call them quads or quadrilaterals. The question is, how do we use these quads in our trading? Here is a pattern that you should be familiar with by now. The XA impulse followed by a correction. And to find the D point, before we'd use the price extension technique, the vertical market geometry, measuring A to B, projecting from C to give us D. Now what we're going to do is use a quadrilateral to give us the same information. We're going to focus, we're going to identify the A point, the B point, and the C point to give us D, and we're going to put a quadrilateral right on the screen like this. Now the question is, why would we bother replacing the price extension technique with the quadrilateral? The reason for this is that quadrilaterals include chronos, or Greek for time. We can identify an exact point in price and time that would be an ideal spot for a D point to complete. But let's first compare the price extension method with using the quadrilateral. Now here's a bearish pattern. Here's the impulse down. Here's the A, B, C, D correction. And there's our 100% price extension line, horizontal market geometry. Now, let's add some vertical market geometry by measuring the distance in time from A to B and projecting that from C. Let's add that to the screen. Okay, so here we have measured in time from A to B, and we project that from C to give us this horizontal market geometry here, 100% time extension. Notice the intersection of these two lines here. This is the ideal spot for reversal. But to find that spot, we needed to apply two different drawing tools. Is there an easier way? Yes, the quadrilateral. Let's apply that to the screen. So notice how the quad provides us also, in addition to this exact point in price and time here, it also gives us parameters of where the market should be going in the process of this correction. And notice how it responds. It respects these lines of the quadrilateral, right? These highs here, the lows here, over here. So most of the move actually takes place inside the quadrilateral. So there's additional support and resistance levels that this quadrilateral provides us as well. This is not as important as this point over here. This is the most important point that we can identify with the quad, is the tip of the quad. So you might be thinking that this technique looks very similar to maybe other techniques that you've seen, and that's true. We've already seen how this tool is similar to price and time extensions. Let's look at a few other techniques, how it compares. Have you ever heard of Andrews pitchforks? You can use the Andrews pitchforks to identify the D point by using the three same data points, A, B, and C, and that draws the pitchforks here, and we have the median line going right through the middle here, and you notice how it intersects with the tip of the quad right there. Notice how much better the quad is in identifying the exact place in price and time that you'd expect a reversal versus the pitchfork median line. Here's a picture of an ellipse. Some people swear by this technique. We'll be discussing ellipses later when we discuss time-price vectors. But once again, notice how the quad fits perfectly inside this ellipse here. Another technical method that people use. And here's the flower of life pattern included in the Beck's toolkit. Notice how the Vesica Pisces contains the quadrilateral perfectly here. In my opinion, the Vesica is more important than the ellipse. And here's a page from Gartley's book, Profits in the Stock Market, on page 249. This is where people have come up with the labels of A, B equals CD. It's based on this picture here. And you notice A, B equals C, D, expecting a reversal here at D. Can you see the quad? Where would the quad fit in here? There it is. So if you've heard AB equals CD, that's pretty much the same as the quadrilateral tool. Also, in Elliott wave terms, wave A equals wave C. That's a common correction. That's the same as this quadrilateral tool. How about parallel lines? You can see parallel lines here as well. So this technique can replace that one as well. All right, so let's look at a number of different quadrilateral examples. Here is a bullish pattern, impulse, correction. And we've already applied our vertical market geometry tools here. There's our 100% line. That's what we're going to be focusing on here, comparing that line with the quadrilateral. Now let's apply the quad to the screen. So once again, notice how the 100% line can extend off to the right into the white space forever. But the quadrilateral is telling us that in price and time, right here would be an ideal spot. And notice how that's only a couple of days away from the low. So that's more pertinent information. The quad gives us time analysis. Let's look at another example. Another bullish pattern. We have the impulse here. We've used our price extension tool to give us a 100% extension line right here. Now let's apply the quad using the same data points, A, B, C. Let's see what that looks like. So that gives us the exact day. See that? Useful information. Add the time analysis to the equation. The quad is a replacement for the price extension tool. Here's another one. Here's the impulse down, correction, A, B, C. Here's our 100% line, price extension line. Let's add the quad. Once again, notice the tip of the quad in price and time tells us this is the ideal place where the reversals should take place. And notice how nicely the market stays within the quad here. So we're going to be doing this using the quadrilateral instead of the price extension in combination with the Beck's emblem as we move forward. But sometimes, have you ever had it where you're using the price extension tool, for an example, and there's a couple of highs here that are very close to each other and you're wondering which one you should use? And we often will just say, well, this one is one tick higher, so I'm going to use that one. and it may seem like an outlier. Maybe you feel deep down inside you shouldn't use that high. We're going to look at some more information here regarding how we use the quad, and we're going to use a technique what I call the alternate quad, and we'll show you which high and which low you should use. A lot of times it happens with the C point where you're going to move the C around, and you're going to use the quad to contain all the price information inside of it, and that's going to show you exactly which highs and lows you should be using. So let's move on to that next session, the alternate quad. So this is what I was talking about. From X to A, that's easy. We can measure that. We can put the emblem there. But when it comes to the quadrilateral, where should we put it here? Should we use this high or should we use this high? We're going to find out. We're going to be using this high over here. Remember I said that most of the price action should stay within the quad? Look at this. This is the way you're going to do the quad with the alternate method. Whenever you see the market present information like this, draw the quad like this. And remember we talked about the parallel lines are very similar to the quadrilateral method. And this is kind of what we're looking at here. This is a parallel situation where the market is telling you here, these two highs should line up like that, and often we'll see down here the lows will start bouncing off the bottom of the quad over here. So this is really useful information. It's a combination of parallel lines and the price extension method and the time extension method. So in this example, we have the impulse down. Instead of using the price extension technique, we've used the quadrilateral method. And we picked off the high here and the low here. And remember I was saying how sometimes you wonder, well, maybe we should put this. Maybe sometimes we think, is this the C point over here? In this case, you would shift the quad C point over to this low over here, and I'll show you why. Now look at that. Notice how we have the low lining up exactly with this parallel line here. And I've shifted it on this side as well. Notice how these highs line up perfectly with the parallel lines of the quad. Like I mentioned, most of the price action is staying inside here. And we get to the tip of the quad and we get a reversal here. Here's a bullish pattern. You have the impulse here. We've drawn the quadrilateral with the basic rules that we've used in the past for our price extension technique. Here's the low, here's the high. Is there another way that we can adjust the quadrilateral to contain most of the price information inside the quad? What if we moved the C point to here? What would that look like? Let's have a look. Okay, so there's our alternate method. It doesn't nail this low exactly, but in price, or pardon me, in time, it did. So a little bit more accurate when we use the quad to see maybe there's an alternate method of applying the quad. Here's a bearish example. We have the impulse, the correction, B, C, looking for the D. That looks good, but is there an alternate way to do this? You can just imagine this angle. If it extended up to here, all these lows would line up, wouldn't they? So let's have a look at that. If we just make this adjustment here, the alternate method, there you go. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? So just a little bit more accurate where the tip is going to be. Here's a bullish example. We have the impulse. We've got the B. We have the C. Remember, there's the high. But if we use the alternate method, maybe we could shift it over here a little bit and see what that looks like. That's better, isn't it? You can see how the market wants to follow this line, this angle down. This price action is all contained inside the quad. Here's a bearish pattern. X, A, B. Here's the high that we would typically use. There's the low. This is an interesting example because if you notice, look at if there was an if we were to draw parallel lines here from this high to this high, and maybe from this low to this low to this low, I wonder what that would look like. We might have to make a very large adjustment on this particular one. Look at that, isn't that better? So like I said, it's very much like the parallel line technique sometimes, especially in this case. So notice the price action here goes straight up like this, following that side of the quadrilateral over here, and that lines up over here, and we get to the high. This is useful information. Use the quadrilateral versus the price extension technique and the time extension technique. So don't be afraid to use the alternate method. Just have a look and see if this is a better fit. So let's just review the information that we considered about the quadrilateral. We know quadrilateral stands for 4 sides. In geometry, this could be referencing any shape with 4 sides, but when it comes to quadrilaterals in technical analysis, the one that we're going to use, we're going to be looking for a shape that's going to contain our price action in the correction. And this technique is going to replace the price extension technique and the time extension technique. We looked at the similarity of the quadrilateral to other technical analysis methods. The parallel lines, AB equals CD in Gartley's book, Andrews pitchforks, ellipses, Elliott wave, wave A equals wave C. All these different methods seem to overlap, but the quadrilateral, in my opinion, is the ultimate. It contains information from all these different methods in one tool that's simple to use. And remember, we also looked at the alternate method of using the quad. Sometimes we're wondering about which highs and lows to use for our price extension technique. Well, when you put the quad on there, it makes sense sometimes to move the quad to fit these other highs and lows. So don't be afraid to use that method. It really works well. So now that we've covered the information on the emblem and the quad, we're going to combine those two techniques together in the same way that we use the price extension and the price retracement techniques together. We're going to combine those two things together, but you've probably been wondering in the back of your mind, yeah, all this geometry stuff looks great and everything, but if I change my time and price scaling, it throws everything off. And that's really the key to all this market geometry, is that we can talk forever about these shapes, but if we change the time and the price scaling, we can make this fit anything that you want. So in our next session, we're going to unlock the secret to determining the ultimate time and price scaling for your charts.